Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Plug and Play. I think this is the fifth city I've been with you guys, so always appreciate the hospitality and effort in getting us in front of the right folks. So Neteera, as you can see, it means to look after and watch over, and I think it's a pretty good idea behind what we're trying to do. And I will touch, let me make sure this is the right one. Perfect. So we were actually born in the automotive space, believe it or not. Our founder and CEO was formerly the head of a large company called Mobileye, which does all the autonomy vision systems for cars. But what he quickly realized was that there was this gap, and the gap was really between the vehicle and the occupants. And as we started to develop the idea for Neteera, we realized that that gap exists in many other places. It's not just the automotive space. So there's this disconnect between you and I as this analog person in an increasingly digital world. And we were looking at ways to help bridge that gap, to better understand how we could improve people's user experience, or how can we make a car safer, or how can we improve patient care. So we developed a pretty impressive team of senior folks out of Israel. I'm the only US-based employee. The rest of the team is in Israel, but I bring this slide up only to show you that we're a team of 30 people, but we have about 400 years of experience working in the automotive and healthcare businesses. So we understand what it takes to work with a large organization in the space. So touching on a little bit of the problem we're trying to solve in healthcare, today when a patient is either in a hospital or at home, there requires a very high level of care or touch points to affect care. You either need a nurse, or you need some sort of EKG system, or you need a wearable device. And with all of those comes puts and takes, right? Wearables are great because they're flexible, but they require charging or some level of questioning the accuracy. Nurses and doctors are very expensive, and EKG systems are quite expensive, and they require the patient to really be in a hospital in an environment that's sanitized to work. So we think that doesn't really bridge that gap between us and the ecosystem. So what we've done is we understand that these markets could do so much more for patients, right? You could allow people to be at home, get their level of care that they need, or we could monitor children in a new way. There's lots of things that we could do if we could really figure out how to connect that gap. So what we've developed is a sensor, and it's a sensor that's actually based on a radar. So very high frequency radar, and essentially what we're doing is we're measuring human vital signs through clothing, through seating materials, all by sending a signal and bouncing it off your skin. And in that signal is a pulse wave. So very similar output to an EKG, and I'll show you what it looks like. But that's not the real challenge. The real challenge is getting it to work in an environment where people are moving and talking, and there's a radio on, or kids are playing in the background. It's really getting that system to work in an environment that is very comfortable for us to be in, because if it's not comfortable for us to be in, we might as well be in the hospital. So this is what a traditional system would look like, a radar-based output on a, this is actually, I think, heart rate. So the blue dots you can see doesn't really tell you much information versus the ground truth. Our algorithms are able to identify the right metrics that we're looking for in that pulse wave, and then we can get a much more accurate signal, as you can see. So today we're in clinical trials, a large hospital organization in the US. So this is not a PowerPoint technology, it's a real technology. I can show you a working demo on a lab later, on a table later. But the key takeaway here is, this was designed for the automotive space, but we're using it in the medical industry now to really change the way doctors think about implementing care. So our first clinical trial is in the sleep lab. And it's not because we think a sleep lab is some huge market opportunity, but it's a way for us to understand what our system looks like compared with a gold level EKG. And as you can see, we match up pretty well on the left-hand side with respiration. This is an instance of something called central apnea, where the body stops breathing, but the heart starts pumping. So it's actually, it's a brain signal function. And on the right-hand side, we actually outperform the EKG system in an instance where a patient moves over. So sometime at 2 in the morning, patient rolls over, the system says that the heart rate jumped from 60 to 110. Well, that's actually incorrect. And the problem with that is if you're trying to develop a system that can raise red flags and alert people, you can't have data that's not reliable like that. So you need something that works in a motion-rich environment. I'm not sure this is too relevant for today, but the key takeaway is we're moving from a system today that is one sensor per occupant to one sensor per room to do advanced metrics detection. We look at IP as a business strategy. We want to make sure that the market knows what we're doing, and we take it very seriously with an in-house patent attorney. Is that the full 7, or is that? Yeah, all right, so I'll stop there if you guys have any questions, otherwise I can keep going. All right, I'll keep going. So today like I said, we're very focused in the automotive space, but moving into healthcare and wellness because we understand the unmet needs. Actually, I'm not sure if I touched on it, but today we detect heart rate, respiration rate, heart rate variability, respiration amplitude, and we're moving towards stroke volume and pulse wave velocity. So we think that we can really smarten the environment, allow doctors and clinicians to move from a collection of data to an implementation of care, because the data is now more reliable and it's scalable and flexible. So you can have patients at home sitting in their favorite recliner with a sensor embedded in it and collecting EKG level data that a doctor can use to really understand the patient in their natural environment. So you see there, again, some of the relationships on the right-hand side. You can see some of our healthcare-related ones. And we'd love to find somebody with experience in medical devices and help bring a new level of technology and capabilities to the market. Thanks.